Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is 3 o'clock, a little after 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. It is time for the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. I am not in studio alone. And first of all, I'm back in studio. Let's just be glad that we are back in studio, back in action, back getting ready to do this thing that we love to do here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's give the studio a quick shout out before we even get to anything else. But I'm looking straight ahead because my guy Justin Russo is in the building with us as well. Mr. Justin Russo of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Vegas Nighthawks, Mr. Russo, Mr. JT himself. How are you doing, man? I was gonna say how was your week, but at this point, how's your month? We haven't seen each other in a little bit.
Moving along, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm chilling out here, still enjoying the summer, but good to be back. Good to be back in the hot seat.
I'm gonna actually sit with this, and the funny thing is, my mic sound my mic sounded weird the entire like pre-show, right? Like me just trying to get this together, right? It sounded weird to start the show, like to me.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna pop on the other.
We're gonna do live tech support right here.
A little bit, but I'm actually thinking that I'm just gonna do the show with my with both on. I don't think I've ever done that, or if I have,
I got one off. That's usually how I roll too.
bro. You have to, because like you have to hear your voice, you have to hear how you're projecting. It just makes everything a little easier, right? Things are weird today. I might have to shut it off. We'll see what happens, but you don't say. But or it's a regular Monday. We've had a couple of different Mondays. Let's go ahead and let's say that, right?
There are some things that are bad.
Well, we got to get back to it the only way we know how. Once again, guys, thank you again for joining the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. My guy sitting across from me is Justin Russo. Getting ready to get to it the only way we know how. Before we do that, let's go ahead and address these cameras that we are sitting in front of. If you guys want to go ahead and watch our live show, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. It's pretty much the same across every platform, guys. It's the same on Facebook, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's the same on Instagram. That's the one that always escapes me. But we do have our Twitter as well. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, guys, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. And of course, all of this is a byproduct of the Talk That Talk Media Company. Russo, this is episode 2. Wait, whoa. Round of applause for us because I just cheated us. I cheated us by a lot too, so I didn't like that. This is season 7. This is episode 43. But in totality, this is episode 369 of the Talk That Talk radio show.
It felt a little off from what I remember. We were talking about numbers, counting up, milestones. I was like, I thought we were past 3 already, but
let me tell you something. If I woke up today and we were at episode 200, as frustrated as people think that I would be, I would say, do I know everything that I know now? Okay. I would be like, then maybe we can make this 200 thing work. But I actually thought about that today when I was drawing up the show. I said, I think I do sound fine. I can take this off. I'm sitting here drawing up the show, and I'm sitting here like, well, 369. So Thursday we'll be at 370. I think I want to do a countdown.
Kind of getting there.
I think I want to do a countdown, right? We should do something. Shout out to Mark Hill Collins, who told me that we're not waiting for 500. We're doing something at 400. So I'm with it. So I'll figure out something to do. But again, shout out to the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park, which we shoot this beautiful show from Sunset here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a surprise.
Okay.
In the second hour. When I tell you the way we're going to start this show, you're going to be like, okay, this is a role reversal. But again, before we even get to everything in terms of the show, I want to thank you guys for bearing with us through another summer league, another wild summer league, another all over the place summer league. But we thank you guys once again. Covered it in a different capacity this season, so you guys didn't see too much written work from us this time around. And that was by design, right? So got the opportunity to cover summer league kind of as a mouthpiece, right? Kind of getting an opportunity to cover for this beautiful show. So the surprise that I have for you in the second hour, I didn't feel anyway on Thursday or on Monday when we did the show from the Thomas and Mack, from the concourse of the Thomas and Mack during Summer League. And shout out to everybody who listened, who watched, who tuned in. I didn't get too many people that was like, well, where was Ben Golliver? Like, you did promise Ben Golliver, right? But that let me know that people kind of understand how Summer League works, right? Summer League gets busy. Summer League gets hectic. Things get kind of wild. You guys can probably guess what the surprise is now, right? Hour number 2, I do have that recorded interview with Ben Golliver. So, yeah, man, we'll get to that in the second hour.
Yeah.
As a part of Summer League talk. So we'll get to some all-star breaks, a couple of them to get to. But we're going to start the show with, and I have my mom's tip-ins. At some point, I'll go through my phone and we'll get to my mom's tip-in. We're going to start with some playoff teams.
Okay.
We're going to start with some playoff teams, and one of them you might know right off bat, right? Okay. Second year in a row, Mike Davis has his Vegas Nighthawks in the postseason. 58-29 victory over Northern Arizona this past weekend. I'm kind of coming to you the best way I know how. We kind of talked about this before. I'm not really too sure that anybody knows this team better than you. You've seen this team up close and personal, and now you're about to see this team in their second postseason. Give me your takeaways from this weekend.
Complete effort, complete win. A game that they probably expected to win, right? A couple touchdown favorites over Northern Arizona, a team that right now is sitting dead last in the West at 2-13. They've had some close contests, but for the vast majority of the season, they've struggled in many different capacities. And the start of the game reminded me of the start of the Iowa game, where it was a touchdown on that first drive. You're like, okay, is this a trap game? Are we gonna get into a little bit of a brawl here? Gonna have to fight down the stretch? Didn't turn out to be that way. Similar to how it went in the Iowa game as well. Despite giving up a first drive touchdown, Nighthawks come back. They answer on offense, and it just felt like an entire wave of 3 units of the entire team, offense, defense, and special teams, just kind of taken over for the rest of the way. 44 unanswered, I believe at one point it was.
That's exactly what it was.
Nighthawks right after that opening drive touchdown, and that's a lot of scoring in different ways that you can conjure up as well. There were passing touchdowns. Quentin Randolph ended up with 3 on the day. There was Antonio Wimbush getting into the end zone with a rushing touchdown. We saw a kick return touchdown, not from Wimbush, not who you'd expect. It was an onside kick recovery from James Caesar, who scored. The defense got in on it, capping off an excellent day for them with a Bryce Hampton pick 6 in the fourth quarter. Day that also included several fourth down stops, a fumble at the goal line as well that they corralled. I mean, they were all over Northern Arizona after that first drive. So complete effort was what I think, and especially coming off of the game against Bay Area where you lose in heartbreaking fashion like that. They felt they were going to be in the postseason, right? It was, Tucson needed a lot to go their way, and Tucson and Vegas played each other this Saturday upcoming, and Henderson as well. So the Nighthawks felt pretty good about their chances to get in, but they get an emphatic victory. They officially clinched their spot in the postseason. And you look at this 4-team Western field of Bay Area, Arizona, San Diego, and Vegas. We don't know the complete order yet with
right.
Bay Area at the top, but I think if you're Vegas and you see how you played these teams this season, you haven't beat Bay Area, but you got pretty darn close in the last game, being down by just 1 and losing at the buzzer. I think it's pretty wide open right now in the West the way you look at it. And right now for Vegas, there's 2 avenues that they can look at. They can stay in that 4 spot depending on the result of Arizona, San Diego this weekend, which would send them to Bay Area on Sunday, or they'd be looking at a Saturday contest up against Arizona if Arizona is able to hold on to that second seed. So we don't know who they're going to play yet, but I think it was a good game for them to get everyone feeling good. I mean, the stat sheet was firmly stuffed by just about everyone in that game in all facets. I mean, we talked about Wimbush with the touchdown, Randolph with 3, but defensively, I mean, we were losing track of how many guys we had stats on defensively in the booth. I mentioned the Bryce Hampton pick 6. Chizu Manakwe was excellent in that game against his former team. Had a big hit on special teams to really set the tone early. Had a play that forced a safety. I didn't even mention the safety that they forced.
So I was going to get to that, right?
Everyone was doing something, and you'd be hard-pressed. Elijah Blades with an interception, almost had 2. I mean, there was something that everybody contributed in that game, and it was impressive to watch. It was a fun game overall, and I think it sets up a fun final week of the regular season leading into the postseason.
And first of all, amazing breakdown. I don't know why anybody would expect anything less right at this point. But you kind of touched on every single thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of points in terms of this game, because after the 44-0 run, it was kind of all through, right? You kind of saw what was the writing that was on the wall. I just want to highlight a couple of things. Third win in the last 4 games for this group, right? And we talked about it earlier in the year, and we talked about how this team had its momentum, good or bad, right, shifted early in the year because of so many breaks, right? I believe 5 weeks into the year, the team had encountered 2 different bye weeks. Yeah. And I was talking to Mike about it, and I was like, well, now you kind of get this stretch where I forgot what the early record was, but it wasn't good, right? At least by this, especially by this team's standards. And
3-2 in the first 5 games.
Yeah, see, and I had the conversation with him, and especially if you go back and watch a couple of those games, that Jacksonville game turned out to not be so bad, right? Because people didn't know what Jacksonville would turn into, but now we see what Jacksonville ultimately is. Let's still go back and watch that game early in the year. Vegas is going to look at it and say we had several opportunities to steal. I don't want to say steal that game, but go back and get that game, right, and go and secure it. And Vegas wasn't able to do it. So I feel like just from that perspective, you have your momentum kind of up and down, roller coaster style, right, early on in the season. And then you have that long stretch of games. Granted, it was a lot of away games, but I did have that conversation with Mike and was like, well, in a weird way, you don't want to ever throw away games, but those first 5 weeks, can you say that our season starts now, kind of in week 6? And he kind of was like, in a weird way, yeah. Like, we're going to get new guys in. Like, we're going to reshift some things. Like, things are going to change. So we are going to be a new team coming out of this last bye week, or second bye week, right? And we're heading into week 6, I believe it was at the time. This is the stretch that this team has been waiting for all season long. Now, I will continue to reiterate that this Vegas Nighthawk team, sitting at 9-6, sitting with a second straight playoff berth, this team has had problems taking care of the teams at the top of the West.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to play teams at the top of the West.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their record against the playoff field. They started the year at San Diego. They won by a touchdown. 2 weeks later, they lose by a touchdown. So it's 1-1 against San Diego. Against Arizona, they beat them once in Henderson, but a couple weeks before that, they lose in a game that they really had control of in Arizona. They were up, I think, 12 in the fourth quarter, and it was an onside kick that didn't go their way after some issues on defense that allowed the Rattlers to come back in that game and win that one. So 1-1 against each of those teams. First game against Bay Area, not close. They did not look good at all. Bay Area completely took over that game in Henderson. Defensively, they were on top of Vegas. Didn't look great. Second game came just last week.
Yep.
Much tighter. 1-point loss. Would have liked to have had that one, but a very tight game nonetheless.
0 for 3 on 2-point conversions.
Exactly, yeah. So
there
were opportunities there for a win and opportunities against some of these top teams for wins at very tight contests. So against Bay Area, that's why I think if you look at the games this week, it's important that they can avoid Bay Area if they can that first week. Try to get Arizona to go to Arizona, I mean, that first playoff weekend, see if they can defeat them, take care of that business first. But they've been close in a lot of these games. I think the one game that gives me pause is that first Bay Area game, because if that was the only one of the games against the teams at the top of the field where you're like, okay, that was not particularly close, and these two teams looked like they were in different tiers in that game. Whereas at least against San Diego and Arizona, while they had mistakes, they certainly they could have won all 4 of those games. They were close, and you could see them going either way.
So, you ready for our first fight back in the studio?
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's have fun with it. Completely disagree.
Really?
Completely disagree. From the exact same standpoint of what we always say in terms of football, right? It's hard to beat a team a third time. Yeah. And especially if you go back and watch these Bay Area games, you're right. Vegas didn't look like it belonged in that first one. Yeah. Then the second one, okay, we were right there. I feel like Vegas could get it done in the third one, right? Now, you don't want to go out and lay an egg in week 19, I believe it was, which, by the way, is extremely weird to say.
Yeah, the season gets long.
You know, I didn't want to say that part, but completely agree with you. Like, right, you look up and you be like, I've been doing this since when again? Right? That's kind of the benchmark you have to look at it. And now we're at a point where this team is, you don't want to say matchup hunting, right? But you're not getting a home playoff game. No. So now you're in a situation. Is this the first year that is in Prescott Valley, Arizona? or is it still here in Arizona or in Vegas? It's the last year, right?
I think it's down there. Let me double check.
Because you may not have home field advantage until you have home field advantage. So,
Tucson.
It's Tucson this year. So first year in Tucson. Good to know. So Vegas doesn't have any home games this postseason run, right?
Road Warriors, no matter what.
I don't want this group to see Arizona. I just don't. This group has shown over the last 2 seasons that when it comes to closing games against Arizona, it appears it just simply can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, then you go back to the playoff game last year against Arizona. They lose at the buzzer in that one. We were both in the building, and it was a tough one, right? So I get that point. I think there are some demons to be exercised in both paths, right? You're going to have to beat Bay Area at some point, you imagine, right? So we're going to have to take them down for the first time this season. And can we finally beat Arizona in a close game like that and finally hold on to a lead? So there's something to prove on in both avenues for Vegas, right? They're going to get a team that they need to take care of business with that they haven't in the recent past, right? Whether it's this year or dating back to last year. But I just think in my mind, the second game against Arizona sticks out to me too of how poor Dalton Snead looked in that game, where he was really flustered. Vegas had him running around a little bit, and it was a 15-point win that was in control for Vegas. So I think that's what sticks out in my mind. But I do agree with you on a certain point of, okay, they're on an upward trajectory against Bay Area. They lost by 1 point. I could certainly see them going back in there and going back and trying to get that win too. So it's playoffs. Nothing's easy. It's a 4-team field. These are all
Tell me about it.
Everything's going to be tough, but I think I would like to see them try to shove Arizona out of the way first. I think that'd be a fun storyline given last year's playoffs.
Spoken like somebody who sits in the booth every week, right? It's spoken like somebody who's sitting there like, yeah, this is the storyline we need. And to be honest, you might get it. You might get it. But none of this matters until we play one more week of football, right? Saturday, July 26th, 6 p.m. from Lee's Family Forum. Now, here's the thing. I was supposed to be in the building for this game, the one that just passed on the 19th. Last minute switch. I knew something was weird because just in terms of the bar, right? I only work a handful of days. And I work days around games that I work. I knew something looked weird about my Saturday. And I was like, I ended up getting thrown on as a bartender for UFC 318. So for Poirier Holloway. I said, okay, I know how this is going to go. So I had to follow everything on my phone. Shout out to everybody shout out to Camille and shout out to Allie for being in the bar with me that night. Everything was kind of smooth to the point to where I was able to watch everything on my phone. Like that could have been very bad. But ended up having to watch it from a very, very crowded bar. But to see this team get this victory, knowing that it didn't, everything rode on this particular game coming up because it is against the Tucson Sugar Skulls, which while we talk about a third victory against Northern Arizona this year, we, in terms of Vegas, right, needed a 1-12 team to take down Tucson 2 weeks ago. And remember what I said on the radio show on the concourse, Northern Arizona got it done. So Vegas doesn't have the same exact thing happen to them the following week. It takes care of business against Northern Arizona. Tucson is up next for Vegas to end the regular season. Again, that's the regular season finale. If we're talking baseball teams, let's go to the Aviators, man. Okay. Let's do the Aviators, right? So, and I'm going to do this really quick. When you said we're doing tech support, I was sitting here thinking like, nah, we're not going to do tech support. We are 100% going to do tech support for a split second. I wanted to make sure that everybody could hear on YouTube, but everybody said it sounds good. I just put it over my phone. So we're solid. But let's talk Aviators because, and I can lean back a little bit. My boys are struggling for the first time this year.
Yeah.
Just
coasting.
Here's the thing, though, right? Nobody should know this better than you, right? You watch this team up close and personal. My question is, use the skeleton of the Golden Knights, right? Now I'm getting ready to answer the question. Is it possible to start a season too fast?
I think so. I mean, I think we see that a lot of times in particularly basketball and hockey where the seasons are long. Like, I mean, baseball too, right? I mean, a lot of times I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing to start too fast because then you get those wins under your belt. You're probably in the postseason if you keep it up for a good chunk of time, right? And you got your spot. But in terms of the biggest threats entering the postseason, I think a lot of times it's all right. Who's been playing well the last month? You know, who's on a tear right now? And record wise, you can look at a team and you can see that they're doing great record wise and view what they've done in the past few weeks and be like, I don't know, like and the shirt that I'm wearing should exemplify that very well. I look at my Steelers.
This is hilarious.
They're doing all right. You know, if you didn't watch any of the games heading into the wild card round, you'd be like, yeah, they're 10-7. They're fine. But those who know, right? You're like, they're gonna get their doors blown off right now. So I think that can certainly happen to any team, right? Where you have the record to get in, but and that's nice to have. It's a good foundation to build on, but if you're not going to continue on and keep building on that foundation, it can all fall apart quickly.
And I like the analogy that you use. First of all, I brought up Pittsburgh to Mike Davis. I finally did it. I was just like, all right, cool. You don't want to be one dimensional, but the 2-point conversion is the reason why I asked.
Yeah.
Hey man. But here's the thing about the Aviators, right? If there's any season to start fast in, it's the minor league baseball season with this particular schedule, right? Because you kind of just talked about it. You locked up a spot. Here's where I'm starting to get worried now. Let's just say that we already locked up a spot. Guys are going in and out of the lineup, whatever the case may be. Now, keep in mind, scratch everything that I'm getting ready to say. If you're like manager Fran Reardon, 2-time PCL manager of the year, I asked him, again, I mentioned on the Concourse show, but I asked him, how do you maintain the attention of like an excited and eager classroom right before a break?
Yeah.
And obviously you're the teacher, right? And he was like, well, the way that I do it is I point them to the end goal. The end goal isn't the All-Star break. The end goal isn't even the PCL championship. You want to move up, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So if you're in the vein of Fran, none of what I'm about to say matters, right? However, let's just say that the team is looking at it like, well, we locked up the first half, right? It's late July, or it's mid to late July. We're getting ready to close it out, heading to August. Let's just say the beginning of August, we start to kind of kick up again, right? Or what if we want to, as you said before, we want to start playing our best baseball end of August, heading into September. We're getting right there. I think third week is when the playoffs are. What if that never happens? Like, what if that second kick up never happens again, right? And I told my dad, because he had this conversation with me before, and again, I highlighted it before, and he asked me before the All-Star break. He said, like, how do you feel? And that's why I asked Fran the classroom question. I said, dog, this is a break coming up, right? So this is an eager classroom. They're just waiting. They're waiting for their opportunity to go outside. That's all they want. Now you get swept for the first time coming out of the break. Now, I have a bunch of numbers on this, right? So that's your first sweep of the season. It's the fourth loss series of the season, but it's the first not to OKC. It ties a season-long 4-game losing streak while it puts the team under 500 for the first time this season. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking second half schedule because they're 10-11 in the second half. First half is already locked up. They were
far and away in the first half.
Yeah, I believe it was 59-36.
Yeah, they had some good.
They're good. They're good in that regard, right? But in terms of the second half, it hasn't started pretty. Hopefully it'll end a lot better than it started for this group. But I have to go back and double check my numbers. I didn't put it in this last story. Maybe I'll do it to start the next story. As the team is on the road in Sacramento, the team lost. I gotta get this going. The team locked up the first half, right? And then the team, and I'm gonna try to timestamp this so I can make sure I get this right. So The team locked up the first half on the road in Sugarland. They come out of that. They take 5 of 6 against Albuquerque.
I just pulled up the schedule as well to
Okay.
corroborate all this.
Thank you.
All right. You're good so far. Yeah.
They win 5 of 6 against Albuquerque.
Yep.
They lose 2 of 3 against OKC at home. They lose 2 of 3 against OKC on the road.
Yep.
They split 6 with El Paso on the road. They go to the All-Star break, and now they're swept by Round Rock.
Yep.
That's not a good stretch.
No, not at all. And I think, like you said, the OKC point, like, sure, okay, yeah, maybe OKC gets a series on them, fine.
Every year.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You're like, it's gonna happen, whatever. And it's after they clinched as well, so you're riding the high still. Paso won going into the break. You're like, especially because they lost the first 2 out of the gate. You're like, all right, like let's keep going a little bit here. And
that's when my antennas came up.
They did a little bit in the second half of that series, but they still ended it with a loss. But now I think coming out, you're like, okay. Sweep they were close games, some of them too, but a sweep's a little different where you're like, all right, I need one here. Like, it shows some signs of life. And you brought up the Golden Knights point, right? About can you start a season too fast? And I think back to not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, the Cup defense season for the Golden Knights, where it was pretty much the same group, one bar a couple players here and there. And the feeling around the team was that it felt like they kind of thought they could flip a switch. Like, we're going to get to the postseason. We'll turn it on. We're going to be fine. And it never happened because they had some injuries. Chemistry didn't work out. Lost in Game 7. It is what it is. Tight margins. But you can't just expect that you're going to get to the postseason and flip that switch when the time comes. Especially in a scenario like baseball too, where it's you don't get those you don't get the 7-game series sometimes. You don't get all those big opportunities where you might be out a couple of bad games and your season's done no matter what you did in the first half, no matter how good you look. So they have to try to not fall into that trap of just thinking that, okay, come late August or September, we're gonna get back to doing what we're doing. Where you see with sometimes teams that are the 8th seed in the NBA or the NHL, where their playoffs began a month before the playoffs because they've been fighting for a spot since then. So some of these teams that are scratching and clawing to make their way in, they've been in playoff mode. They're ready to go. They have the intensity for much longer than you have, and sometimes you just can't match that when you want to flip that switch.
So I'm happy that you even referenced half of what you just referenced because you mentioned flip the switch, right?
Yeah.
I remember I asked a question to, I believe, Ricky White, and Barry Odom kind of like hopped in and was like, we talk about like that phrase, like flip the switch, like you flip it once, like it's on. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And he was saying like we were talking about like from game to game, but he was kind of like, we don't wait for like a second half to like hit a switch, like hit it early.
We didn't do what we did the first half.
Like, yeah, like he was kind of like, we don't really like we do talk about that phrase. That's why he was like, I love that phrase, but here's how we want to use it. So this Aviator group, and you kind of just talked about it a second ago, right? With OKC, like sometimes you just run into a team where it's like, again, I'm gonna say every single year, but you run into a team sometimes, and it's just like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I told my dad, I said, here's the interesting thing. I said, I'm going to add 2 more caveats to why it's important to not have too long of a lull, despite being first half chance. Number 1, you still have say-so in who you play. You take care of your business. You win the games you're supposed to win. You win some games you're not supposed to win. You can keep somebody out of the postseason.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2, you play in the athletics organization, respectfully. You might not be here at the end of August. You might be in Midland. You might be up in Sacramento with the big league group. This group has constant turnover. The trade deadline is coming up. This team has constant turnover. I'm kind of with Fran. As much as I was kind of giving the other side of it earlier, that's what this job is for. I'm kind of with Fran.
Yeah. You
don't really have wiggle room to, like, the goal isn't the PCL championship, no matter how nice it would be. You guys have a bigger goal, a bigger individual goal, right? So I just think those are 2 things to kind of highlight and mention because a lot of people kind of lose sight of that. But there's no guarantee that you will be here tomorrow in terms of this group.
I don't know. And I think, working with the Silver Knights too, as closely as I do, that's also an element of minor league sports too, right? Where there's always excitement when the team wins and when the team's on a run and they're pushing toward a playoff berth or a championship. But the real excitement comes when, oh, you just got called up to the Golden Knights, like, all right, I get your shot, nice, but like, go kill it up there. Like that's the real excitement that you get, right? And so, look, this is all these guys are still playing hard, right? It's not like they're trying to lose these games,
Right.
So they're all still playing for spots. They want to win these games, but I think it's the point more so that we're making is you can't brush it off and say that, okay, it doesn't matter that we're losing in the grand scheme of the team. Whereas, look, you've got individual goals to play for. The team would still benefit by us kind of sticking in gear as long as we can. So they're trying, right? But they're in this lull right now. And I think, like you said, the sooner they can get out of it, the better. It doesn't need to be on the first half pace that they were at, but win some series, string together something, get over 500 and stay afloat.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at in terms of this group, because when I said you control who you play, you control the ultimate outcome of the rest of this season. They're third in the PCL West right now. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying the PCL, like all of it. They're third in the PCL West.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what the teams on top of them look like. Tacoma's on top of everybody at 14-8. This is why I said you got to take care of business when you take care of business. OKC is right behind at 13-7. Sugarland, who kind of poked their head in for a quick second during the first half race and was like, hey, guys, we're 5.5 back in case you guys forgot. We've won 12 straight games. By the way, 2 of those games again have come against the Aviators. They're sitting right there at 11-8, right? Now is where things get kind of funky. I just said Sugarland is 11-8. El Paso is technically behind them in terms of percentage. They're at 12-9. And then you have Sacramento at 11-10. Now, best case scenario for this group, in my humble opinion, if I know Fran a little bit, you want to put pressure on the guys, but I know how Fran is. Let me not say pressure. You want to put the ball in their court. Yeah. You want to give them a call to action, right? And that's one of my favorite phrases, because I don't like to read books without call to action. Like, give me a job to do at the end of this. Yeah. Fran is pretty good about giving calls to action, right? And he's particular in the timing of it. The best case scenario that I have for this group right now is the fact that they are sitting under 500 on a plane to Sacramento. I feel like Fran just sitting there in the front with his book, like. So I feel like when you see the curve, like, I feel like you shouldn't swing when you're up in the count. Like, I just think if you look back, right, at last week, I have an entire plane ride to talk to you guys.
We're gonna sit here and we're gonna work this out.
It's not very often that you see a team kind of get it right on the road. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's considered home. They're headed to Sacramento. I don't know what's happening. I don't know anymore. Everything is twisted with this organization. But I do know. I'm confused. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's home.
Think about that. Yeah,
but I think the Aviators play better in Sacramento than the A's do, and then I think the Guardians play better. I don't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter.
They're just going to Sacramento. No labels.
They're going to Northern California. Let's say that. Let's just say that. But I feel like this team could actually pull it together kind of on the road, right? You're heading to a spot against a team where, and I was looking at this yesterday with Dick Cowher. Shout out to DC. Shout out to Jim Gemma as well, right? So round of applause for Jim Gemma for what he does in the media space. I'm sitting there looking at the game notes that he does, right? And I kind of fork through all of it. So I'm sitting there looking at the game notes, and I'm looking, and I go, hey, this team is like 17, 18, close to 20 games over 500 against the PCOS where it plays. It's maybe 4 games over 500 against the East. OKC is in the East. Round Rock is in the East. So these are just some things that I think of. This team is going to go play a PCOS team on the road as a 500 team. And again, no disrespect to the River Cats, but the River Cats of the San Francisco Giants organization, they're 11-10. They were the last team I just mentioned. Yeah. So it's not like you're playing a barn burner of a group unless they go ahead and catch fire right now. Yeah. So who knows exactly how this can pan out, but I do think the Aviators sniffing out 4 wins in this week isn't a shocker. It doesn't seem like it's impossible for it to happen.
No, sometimes you go on the road for that get right game or that get right series, right? So I certainly think they can pull it together. We're kind of sounding the alarm right now of a potential lull, a lengthy lull, right? They're in one right now, but if they win 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6, like it's just going to be one of those mid-season things you look back on and you're like, it happens during the season, right? And I think you'd forget about it for the most part. But if this goes on for another series or two or lasts for the end of the month, now we're talking, and now we're getting into some serious, like, okay, what's going on with this team that was excellent the first half. So I think the next 6 to 9 games to end this month are pretty big in terms of just the trajectory leading into the postseason.
And first of all, Russo said that he wanted to be here on Thursday originally. I wasn't sure if anybody was showing up to the show today, so Russo made a last minute diversion and came over here, right? And I appreciate you for doing that. I'm saying that to say on Thursday, maybe I will play my interview with Frank Reardon, right?
Yeah.
So typically I do it. I didn't do it on Monday because we did the show from the concourse. It was kind of a little wonky, but we talked about that, and I was like, hey, you talked about a first half slip up or a first half clinching like slip up after the fact, a little hangover, something like that. And I asked him after they lost the first, am I lying? After the series was 2-2. We talked on that Saturday. And I was like, is this the hangover that you kind of were talking about? And you guys will hear it in his voice when I play it on Thursday. He was like, no, I don't think so. I think now, he said, I was worried about one. He said, but I think now you're 90 games into a season and we haven't had one of these yet.
Yeah.
He was like, so this isn't the worst thing to happen to us, right? Like we kind of need this to see where we can be better. And he also, and I kind of actually ended it with, at the end of a season, if you look back on it and you play 150 of these and you have 2 4-game losing streaks, if that's the worst part of your season, you might be in a good spot.
Yeah, you're going to be all right. So that's what I was saying too, where it's, right now it's fine. But if it continues, then we've got to come. So that's where you hopefully can rein in the team, go on the road, make some progress against a team they probably should beat a good 3-4 times at least. So we'll see what they do.
I have All-Star break news. Well, things to discuss. I guess we'll just say that. You guys already know it's the 2 topics that we're probably expected to talk about, right? Home run derby. I talked about it on Monday, and this is the funny part because I said this is usually what happens, right? You get the superstar guy who goes, I don't want to say superstar because he probably grew into one during this home run derby, but you get the guy who has been like the first half storyline, right? And everybody talks about him, and then he gets there in the first round, and you look around and you go, well, why does it look like that? Or in the second round, you go, okay, he's starting to fizzle out, right? And I said, this is just one of those moments where Cal Riley lets everybody down, right? Like he just goes out and he does that, and Byron Buxton goes out and wins. I think that was actually my little sleeper pick, right?
Yeah, I wish he would have. I had a guy that I was hoping would win the home run derby myself.
And again, we talk about pretty lefty swings.
Yeah.
I don't know, brother. It's a couple of baseball is in a good spot.
Oh yeah.
Just completely random, but baseball is in a really good spot. But shout out to Cal Riley, right? For not having that letdown. Right now, he's going to join the Giancarlo Stantons, the Aaron Judges, the Josh Hamiltons, where we wanted to see something. And you did it.
Yeah.
And you did. I'm completely sorry because this is no disrespect to Cal Riley, and I feel like people are going to feel like I am. O'Neal Cruz hit that 513, right?
It hurts a little bit.
Brother.
And, it irked me too.
How do you not love baseball, though?
Wasn't the the tiebreaker for Rooker and Raleigh like
0.8?
Yeah, I was like
0.8.
Damn, Brain could have hit that one.
Hey, and again,
some trouble in the second round, but we got a show from Cal, so that was good.
Hey, man, and again, like I said before, people are gonna feel like I'm hating Cal Riley. I do not.
No.
Another person that won the weekend, Brent Rooker. Mm-hmm. Brent Rooker won the weekend. Well, won the week, however you want to put it. Yeah. Consider the 4 days. Considering the way that he handled Twitter. Yeah. I love the way that he was on social. So the back and forth with Jeff Passan, right? Like the interactions with fans. I think he is somebody who showed how to do it properly. But going back to Cal Riley, right? How many different moments can one have in a home run derby? Do you have an answer for that? I know it sounds like a riddle. I feel like,
How many
you know,
different moments can you have? I mean,
in a single home run derby.
that's a tough. I mean, I feel like for me, just the one I felt like the battle against O'Neal Cruz was almost like that was the moment for me where it was. He was going to win the final. I knew he was going to win the final, but that one felt like the Titanic moment of like, dude, he just hit like 6 in a row or 5 in a row, whatever he did. So I don't know. I feel like one that probably sticks out in your head is like maybe a sequence of 3 or 4 in a row. You're like, dude, what is going? Like this dude's mashing these baseballs. But I feel like to me, there's usually like one moment that sticks out. What's your answer? I'm curious.
The best part about this Kyle Riley performance in the home run derby is that I think he had about 6 of them.
Really? Okay.
His brother's catching for him. That's 1.
That's true.
His dad is throwing to him. That's 2.
The whole family's involved. Yeah.
The Big Dumper nickname is 3.
That should be 3 and 4. I don't know.
It should.
It should be 2.
Hey, first of all, I kind of like that one, and I don't think a lot of people got that at home. That was a great one. I almost forgot what I was gonna say after that. The childhood video.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the actual moments that we saw with the bat,
the
right?
field, yeah.
Let's talk about switching at the plate.
That was fun too.
Because I remember when it was Adley, right? It was Adley for Baltimore. When he did it, I was like, yo, this is the sickest thing in the world. Did this man just switch stances? Cal did it. How many different moments can you have in one home run? I'm sitting in the bar like, damn, how do you not root for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, the whole storyline and the build-up for Cal was just incredible that whole time. I mean, everyone had their moment, right? You know, they go through them, but it felt like Cal was the guy, obviously. The 38 homers, everyone wants to see this guy, and for him to have the family there and have all the build-up, and then the kind of, I don't want to say underdog, but he came back from a poor first round and just soared in the final 2 and ended up winning. Like, it was a whole, like, arc of Cal Raleigh on the night.
Couldn't have said it any better. I've said it before. The MLB does their all-star festivity presentations better than anybody, and I've said it for a while, right? Let's get to this all-star game, because I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I just realized that we're enemies, and it just registered. Like, it didn't register till I looked at your hat and I said, but this is starting to turn into like my Angel level, like hate and frustration, and you're laughing, and it's gonna make it worse. It's gonna frustrate me. I'm telling you now. I'm trying to not be serious, because this is gonna go left if I am serious. I'm just tired of losing to the National League. And the funny thing is, I called my dad when the game went into extras, and I said, "You want to know the funny thing?" He said, "What?" I said, "The Angels won't sniff the World Series." And I still want it. Like, I still want the Tigers or the Yankees or the Red Sox, whoever. They need to get 3 or 4 of the 7 games. I just need it. For this has turned into the West and the East and the NBA in like the mid-2000s. 12 of the last 13 All-Star games have gone toward the National League. This is something that
I'm looking at the history right now. This is all AL right now.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
You want dog. So first of all, I called my dad because I'm listening to the broadcast, right? And now I hope somebody can go back and clip that for me. I know people hate him, right? But I heard the National League have won 11 of the last 12 of these. Now, I don't know if it's the opposite side, but when I heard it, now this just lets you know.
So I'm looking right here.
Talk to me.
The AL won 9 in a row from 2013 to 2022.
It's the other way around.
NL won in 23, AL last year, and NL this year.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So he said it the opposite way. When I heard it, that's when I called my dad, and I was like, "Hey, the Angels don't have a shot." So like, I never really know who has the home field advantage in the World Series.
Over here.
Hey, call it what you want. So that lets you know that the Angels don't sniff the postseason, even announce, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, dog, I am tired of dealing with the National League.
He's just extending the Angels' issues.
I'm like, dog, like this is. I'm like, so we can't even get the one that matters, right? So the one that matters but kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So here's the reason why I said all of that, right? Call my dad, super excited when he gets to extras. I said whatever I said about the National League. I hung up. I didn't even let him talk. I just hung up. About 3 minutes pass, right? They come back and I see the awesome presentation and I see both managers on the field. And I said, I missed it. I said, I was talking to my dad. I said, I was going crazy and I missed it. I said, I blew it. What happened? And I hear them talking about this home run swing off. All right. You ready for me to be the angry guy shaking my fist on my lawn?
I'm ready.
As much as fans and media like to watch home runs, I credit Major League Baseball for being an organization, for being a league that has done their all-star game right. It means something. I think going through a full 9 innings of baseball and ending it with a home run swing off is kind of cheap. And I'm going to tell you why previous arguments that I've had is why I'm the angry guy on my lawn right now shaking my fist. I don't like the ghost runner.
Yeah, this is all
together. This is all together.
Started to happen, yeah.
I don't like the ghost runner. I like the games when teams have to play till 1 a.m. and you got to be back at the ballpark. Yeah. I like it. It's survival of the fittest at that point. Who is ready to go this long? Who has the arms in the bullpen? Who's actually going to get up there on their 9th at bat and get their first hit? I like that aspect of it. So for me, you wouldn't have a ghost runner in during the season at any point. You want to know how you fix the All-Star game? You use the ghost runner then.
Use the rule that you created already.
You use it then.
Yeah.
I don't want to go up there and see guys swing for the World Series home field event. That's what we just boiled this down to? So to me, I was like, damn, I kind of called my dad to kind of juice him up for the extras. This didn't even juice me up.
Yeah, I think there's probably a middle ground, right? Where you don't want them going like 18 innings for an all-star game.
Right.
I think you give them like 10 and 11 innings. Maybe,
load the bases instead of a ghost runner.
Something crazy for like an inning or two, and then you're like, all right, like now, like kind of like NHL overtime. Like, we're gonna go 5 minutes of 3-on-3. If you can't decide it by then, we're just do the shootout. Let's go. We got places to be, right?
I'm kind of with that.
I think for an all-star game too, I'm fine with bases loaded or a ghost runner of some kind in the 10th, or if you want to go in 11th inning, even if you're still tied, and then we can go to the home run swing off. I thought it was fun because it's a lot of pressure on those guys going in cold and be like, all right, go hit a home run, man. Like, do your best. And then credit to Schwarber for just absolutely rocking it there and hitting 3. But, like, I thought it was fun to watch because it was kind of low stakes. And it was like, all right, like, let's just see if these guys can do it. Like, these are the best athletes in baseball right now. Let's see if you can just go crank a home run after sitting on the bench for all that time. I'm kind of curious. Like,
now imagine being O'Neal Cruz, respectfully, and you get called up to do it. And you're swinging. I'm not going to the World Series anyway. So, is it really pressure on me? But I will add this to it, just in terms of my brain working from a media standpoint. Can you imagine the fall montage if Kyle Schwarber hits a walk-off and the Phillies are in the World Series? They're going to be like, yo, yep, remember the home run swing off in July? He's the reason why this game 4 is being played, or the game 2 is being played in Philly, whatever. I can see something like that being really cool. Gonna be honest, outside of that, I'm the angry guy on my lawn. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense because there's a trend in baseball of, you know, there's all these novelties of the ghost runner and the pitch clock, and it's kind of an extension of that. I saw, I think, an article titled "Baseball Just Killed Extra Innings with this home run swing off." I'm like, all right,
that's a bit much.
If it's June and I have to watch a home run derby to decide this 9-inning game, like, no, we're not. You're gonna play some baseball. You're gonna figure it out here. But it is the trend that continues. Like I said, I thought it was fun. I'll let you be the old guy yelling on your lawn, and I'll represent the common folk.
Do I hate it more than a Pop-Tarts Bowl? That's the question. I don't.
I feel like that's another thing that you're going against the grain on, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like,
what do you think my answer is in terms of which one I hate more?
I'm gonna guess I'm going to guess the home run because it's against the tradition. There's not a whole lot of tradition on
You guess
how the Pop Darts Bowl used to be.
Word.
It doesn't really apply.
Because I had to think about it. What am I fighting for? The Cheez-Its Bowl to come back?
Yeah.
Like, what am I really fighting
Just
for,
another
right?
company to step in and make it crazy.
If I'm Old Spice, I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna be like the Bahamas Bowl. You know what? Let's make it the Old Spice Bowl. Let's just might as well do it. But coming out of the All-Star break, right? Let's talk a little bit about the Athletics, what they've been able to do or lack thereof, right? This team continues to struggle. Lost 2 of 3 out of the break against Cleveland. I have no. This is gonna sound really trash. I have no real assessment of this team at the present moment, aside from the trade deadline is coming.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of there's a holding pattern right now of like, all right, what's going to happen here?
I'm just holding my breath.
So like, and that's connected to the Aviators as well, where you're like, all right, it's the weird time of the season where nothing can really quite settle. Where you're like, okay, I think I know where we're at, but we're really going to know in 2 weeks where we're at when we know who's on the team and who's not on the team and where everything stands. So right now they're just kind of bad for the sake of being bad. That's unfortunately how it is.
And interestingly enough, I finally said it. I don't know if I publicly said it before Monday, but I said that the conversation that I had 2 years now, I believe, maybe 2 years ago, with Tyler Soderstrom about playing catcher at the big leagues, and he was like, "It's always been a dream. It's what I've always wanted to do. Whatever, yada yada." Right? I asked him the question of if you were to get the call up now. I kind of saw where things were going. By the way, he got called up before the story could even run. I was like, yo. So I'm like, okay, cool. I said, so if you took the call up now, like if you got that phone call now to go up to the big leagues, but you weren't catching every day, like kind of like when we need you, would you answer the call? And again, sometimes you ask athletes questions and you kind of know where they're going to lean. You feel like you tend to know where they're going to lean. He battled with that question for a while and then was like, to be honest, probably not. Dog, my heart sunk for him. I was like, oh, don't know if you want to say that. Yeah. And he was like, well, in the back of my mind, he was like, well, they drafted me to be a catcher. They told me they want me to play catcher. They haven't told me anything else. I believe I'm a big league catcher, which was probably the most poignant thing that he said. I believe I'm a big league catcher. And then to start this year, everybody was talking about Aaron Judge and his home run numbers. And I remember some people having conversations. It was kind of comical, right? People were like, well, yeah, Aaron Judge is going back and forth with some guy. Yeah, it's Tyler Soderstrom. If he played for the Angels, if he played for the Dodgers, if he played for the Yankees, if he played for the Mets, if he played for the Rays, if he played for the Red Sox, if he played for the Rangers, you would know him, wouldn't you? I think the A's know that. I have watched Tyler Soderstrom designate a hit this year. I've watched him play first base. I've watched Tyler learn the outfield this year. I haven't talked to Tyler in over a year. I don't know that Tyler doesn't still believe he's a big league catcher.
Yeah. I mean, this conversation goes back a while, too. I remember we were talking about this for a while of the role that you have in an organization and your beliefs versus their beliefs, and where does that put you, and is this a good fit? Like, I just pulled up his stats because, just to get a number on it, hitting 258, 18 home runs, like 56 RBI, but like you said,
those are the guys that end up in Philly, and you be like,
yeah, the guy in October, you're like, he just hit like 4 home runs in the
Tommy Edman.
Yeah, and just guys that can fit those roles very specifically on teams that need those roles to be filled. Like, I don't know. We'll see. We got 10 days or so to figure out what might happen.
That's exactly what it is. I do want to add this really quick in terms of deadline, right? I keep saying deadline is upcoming. You want to know who got the lone win of the series against Cleveland? Luis Severino. I think the A's are going to get off of this contract. Yeah. I don't believe Luis Severino starts another game for the A's. I think they get him out of there. I think they try to get off of that contract fast. And that win moved him to 3-11. So I don't believe his confidence is rattled any. I think he's sitting there like, hey, I just played for the A's. Like, relax. I do feel like there's a playoff team, a San Diego, a Yankees, a San Francisco. Somebody's going to pull the trigger and be like, we'll take them. When that happens, I don't know if it's a feeling, if it's a want. I don't know what it is. I feel like some arms can get the flying. And I feel like it's a little like it's sneakily quiet during this trade deadline. And the last time it was sneakily quiet during the trade deadline, I think Max Scherzer got dealt, and I like lost my mind.
That's
so
the thing too, is it sometimes you have to wait for a domino to fall, and it's not necessarily let's look at the top targets. Okay, this guy got, and then we'll go down the list. It's more so of I'm San Diego or San Francisco, like the Dodgers went out and got this guy, like okay, yeah, maybe let me pony up and let me see if I can go get someone else now. Like I'm gonna need this guy. I'm gonna need a guy that can match that arm in the bullpen that we might go deep in the game. I'm gonna need this left-handed batter right here in this situation if we get into a series against LA. Like sometimes it's the need of what you need to do to compete against specific teams rather than okay, this is the third guy on the list and we got to go get him. Like it's not necessarily just about who's out there. It's who gets who and how aggressive some of these deals become, and maybe some guys get traded out of nowhere, and you're like, oh shoot, like now what do I do? Like,
somebody
an answer here.
Somebody was mentioning like possible names on the move. Somebody talked about Jarren Duran to the Padres. I sat there and stared at that picture for a long time and said, why does that make a lot of sense?
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about Jarren. And I was just like, why does that make a lot of sense, right? But I was sitting here going through my mind while you were talking. The year that the Dodgers got Manny Ramirez, everything shook. Because I remember my dad was like, we're going to get Manny. And I was like, do you know that you guys would have to move heaven and earth to get Manny? And they moved heaven and earth to get Manny. And I thought everything was falling at that point. The only other one that came to mind right now, I just mentioned Max Scherzer getting dealt. I forgot which year that was, or it was a big pitcher that got dealt. Has DeGrom been traded? Not during the season, I don't think. I think it was Scherzer.
Yeah.
I want to say it was a Scherzer deal.
Yeah, Scherzer to LA was the big
That was the one I feel like.
I remember, yeah.
You want to know what also kind of like registered for me, and it was kind of crazy? Remember Pat to Philly?
Yeah.
Jonathan Papelbon to Philly. I went to my dad and was like, yo, what is happening right now? Like it's some of those moments that I'm just like, this shouldn't be okay with baseball. Aroldis Chapman keeps landing in situations that I'm like, damn it, get him away from them. But this is the fun part of baseball season. You're getting to a point where decisions have to be made, right? And let's talk about these standings really quick because you got a name for me?
This is not even really related to like names or whatever, but I was just looking up DeGrom and his signing with the Rangers.
Talk about it.
There's a Sports Illustrated article. I just looked up DeGrom trade because I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? I found out he signed with the Rangers, right? There's a Sports Illustrated article. The headline is Texas Rangers deal Jacob DeGrom to the New York Mets. And the whole article is about whether they should do that. But the headline says Rangers deal DeGrom to the Mets from 5 hours ago from Sports Illustrated. And the entire article is some guy saying, could they get him? Is this a good deal? Like, really doing? Like, really? That's terrible.
I almost started the short circuit. You see my face? I was like, is that the trade?
I had to click on the article because I'm like, did I miss something? Did I miss Jacob DeGrom get traded? And the whole thing is, well, is it a good risk for the Mets here? I don't know. Let's see. Like, let's mock trade is one of the sub headlines right here. I'm like, all right, man, that's some interesting journalism right there. But all right, cool. Go for it. Not to derail the conversation. But.
I'm gonna derail it for a quick second, only because I got news from 35 minutes ago. The ex-Louisville police officer that was involved, that killed Breonna Taylor, was sentenced to 33 months in jail.
I was hoping there'd be a different attachment to that one.
And
months. That's great.
Trying to figure out where to go without like losing sponsors or something. Like, where do I go? Because I'm about to start cursing up a storm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say shout out to the Las Vegas Aces, and this is gonna sound crazy, but one of the things that they have at the end of their game notes, I have to double check when they send you the notes for the game. Hey, the Aces shot 49%, whatever. At the end of it, usually they'll have, and it's been 1,091 days, whatever, right? Since Breonna Taylor was killed. Excuse me. We've waited longer than 33 months to get an answer.
Much longer.
From that perspective, what are we doing? If you're telling cops that they can get less than 3 years for shooting through a door, where are we at?
And looking this up as well, I see the current administration recommended a 1-day sentence for that was their recommendation to the judge personally. So I guess it could have been a lot worse, but 33 months is. I mean,
this is going to turn into a podcast, and I'm going to purposely pull it off the rails if this turns into a podcast. So I'm going to chill. But I do think that's important to highlight in the middle of the sports world, because while we're sitting here talking about porter potties and home run derbies and having fun with things, right, there's real life out there happening. And I always have that conversation. That was absolutely disgusting. And I know people may think that I'm sitting here joking or I'm sitting here being facetious. Justin, my stomach literally hurts, though. It's not comfortable. That's a scary ass situation,
how many
dog.
times has this happened now? History repeating itself for the same thing occurring, the same crime being committed, and history repeating itself, of the punishment not exactly fitting that crime. So
I pray for that family. Rest in peace to Breonna Taylor once again. Beyond tragic, continues to be tragic. Pardon. And as I always say, whenever I have a situation like that to highlight, now we have to somehow get back into the world of sports and why spending a football matters. But let's go ahead and wrap up the athletic talk really quick. We talked about teams having to make decisions, right? You got to either be a buyer or a seller right now. Everybody else in the AL has a decision to make, to be completely honest, except the A's. The Angels are sitting at 49-50. The Texas Rangers are 50-50. The Mariners are 53-46. Now, we've been talking so much about the bottom of this division. Shout out to Alex White, who made her return to the Talk That Talk radio show last Monday. She said her World Series pick to make it from the AL is the Houston Astros. And I had to do a little number, but let me make sure I'm not tripping. 15 games over 5. Wait.
They're just hanging in.
This is how that happens, right? Now, meanwhile, if you wanted to go ahead and see what that inverse looked like, the A's are 17 games under 500. They're sitting at 42-59. They are last in the AL West. They are 16 games behind first place and 7 games behind the Angels for the next spot. They're against Texas. They're in Texas for the next 3 games, ironically enough, considering that the Aviators are up in Sacramento. I almost said Oakland, but the A's, I want to so bad. I want to so bad.
It's going to be hard. Until they have a name attached to that.
At the very least, right? I had a joke, and I'm going to keep it to myself. They are in the midst of a 10-game road trip. So coming out of a break into a road trip when you're already playing in a temporary ballpark, we talked about slumps and lows. These might be some difficult games for this team to get up for. 3 games against Texas beginning tonight, right after the show, 5:05 p.m. You can go ahead and catch first pitch.
Yeah, July is always an interesting month too, just overall. I mean, obviously the A's have been a little down in the dumps for a while, so there's no surprise to where they are right now. But I think in the inverse, you look at Milwaukee on a 10-game heater, the Red Sox with the win streak they had, like this.
Shout out to the Sox, right?
Yeah, and it completely affects the market too, because like. Now there's more teams in the mix. If Boston didn't think they were going to be there, obviously they just traded Devers to San Francisco, and maybe they felt that as addition by subtraction. Who knows, right? But it seemed like a negative move in terms of this year at the very least. So now you have all these teams being introduced into the fight, and I mean both leagues are pretty tight right now. And like you said, there's a lot of decisions to be made. So that can also bode well for the A's in terms of getting into a bidding war. Can you convince all these teams that they need to compete, that they should compete down to the wire and try to make the wild card? Then you might be able to raise the price on a Severino or someone in the organization that you can shell out. So not necessarily important for them to win, the next month or two. Red's not going to change the entire course of their building right now, but I think it's better for them that there are more teams that are good in the league right now, and if you can get more teams to buy in, we'll see if they can get something back for some of their guys.
The thing, and Russo, we have to stop after this because I'm gonna keep going. I see where this is going. In terms of the market, obviously arms are arms, right? And I said I do think arms are gonna start going flying in a second. I'm paying attention to outfielders because I'm paying attention to which teams I believe are going to be super aggressive. I'm looking at a Detroit Tiger team, right? That's a team we talked about earlier when we talked about the Aviators, kind of not feeling like you've done anything, right? You want to keep adding to it, and I kind of get that vibe from Detroit. They're like, yeah, so what? Like we've done this before. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
11 games clear Cleveland in the division, so they've got a cushion.
And I make all my jokes. I make all my jokes about the AL, about the AL Central all the time, and be like, oh well, they'll flip flop, and then it'll be Texas, or then it'll be Detroit this year. It'll be Cleveland the next year. It'll be and then one of them make the World Series. Like I make my jokes, right? I think they heard them. So what if they go out and get somebody like a Cedric Mullins?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't do it if I'm in Atlanta, but I keep seeing Marcell Ozuna's name. Now, I'm not gonna lie.
right now, like,
but the reason why is because some things are an energy thing, right?
Yeah.
You won the World Series, and I think you gotta learn with the Freddie thing at some point. Now, Freddie and Marcell are not the same person, not even the same. No disrespect to either one, but Marcell started to make a name somewhere else, right? Marcell could be somebody who, even with the injuries he suffered, could be somebody who stays with the organization for the remainder of his career, right? Only reason why I say that, and this is why I didn't want to jump out the window. Let's just say that you guys are down 3 years from now. Acuna might be on the table.
Yeah.
Ozzy might be on the table. So, right. So I might not do Marcell just for that standpoint, right? Like, and it's for lack of a better like comparison, almost like a Nick Collison type of thing, right? And obviously Marcell is more productive than Nick was toward the latter part of his career. But if we said that Yachty wasn't super productive in St. Louis the last 2-3 years or so, 2 years, at no point did I feel like St. Louis was going to get rid of. And like I said, if you never win the ring, I feel completely different. I do.
Yeah.
Marcell was a part of that. And because of that, I just feel like certain things shouldn't happen. But because of that, my eyes are on the outfielder market. I mentioned Jarren Duran as well.
Yeah, then you bring up Freddie again. You're like, well, that happened, then I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So it can go either way. But yeah, the outfield. I mean, I've seen Steve Kwan's name thrown out there too, which seems crazy to me. Which I mean, so I don't know, and that's where it comes to at the top. If Tigers make a move, the Blue Jays say, someone in the Yankees, someone go out there and raise their level, throw in a couple extra prospects, throw in a guy that they can go get a big name for, like Kwan or something that probably isn't going to be traded, but at the right price could probably be had. So that's where it gets interesting to me of the inner team battles where it's like, all right, on paper, how do we stack up against this team and try to build the best team possible?
You said it best. It's the response trades, right?
Yep.
It's going to be a bunch of them. Shout out to us because we could have did a whole 2-hour show on just that. If you want to do a trade deadline special, we can do it. Though. I'm with it. The problem with the trade deadline special in baseball, our phones are going to be everywhere. Like we're going to be like, hey, wait, so somebody just tweeted, wait, so hold on, wait, hello? We're going to, it's going to be a little too much. But, I think I have an answer too. I talked to my guy, Fran Reardon, a little bit, and I told him, and I said this, Fran, I've been covering baseball since 2008. Almost 20 years covering this sport. I said, Fran, I don't understand the trade deadline. He started laughing. He said, you know what, T, to be honest with you? And I started laughing. I said, don't you tell me you don't know it either. He said, no. He said, I want to know the specifics. He said the regular trade deadline, like for this first one, is fine, right? It's what we know it to be. He said, but I've seen trades happen like the week after the deadline. He said, I think 2 things. They have to be non-40 guys, and they can't join your postseason roster. I looked at him and said, friend, I said, that makes a lot of sense. I said, because I was thinking for years that like the Tampa Bay, I'm like the Tampa Bay Rays and the St. Louis Cardinals said they don't care about your rules. Yeah. They said we're gonna trade this shortstop anyway. Yeah. So I was like, how does that kind of work? So yes, we're in trade season for the next 10 days. We're in trade season for the next month and a half.
Yeah,
so.
for all the teams that are aren't competing, right, and don't need a postseason roster or don't need all that. So.
This is the fun part, man. You decide how we go about this. I do have this Ben Golliver interview.
Yeah.
It is 12 minutes or so, 12 minutes, 13 minutes. We can stop after every question. Obviously give you a chance to address some of the things that he's highlighting in the interview. How do you want to go about it?
I like that format.
Yeah.
Leave it in. Yeah, I'm down.
Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Trying to make sure it's not super loud, but I'm also trying to make sure that you guys can hear everything. Let's do it.
All righty. Ben, we talk. This is kind of becoming like a reoccurring thing every summer. We talk, come by the show, have this conversation. We've been in doing that. We've been in a couple of prime spots, right? We've seen Zion's summer league. We've seen Wemby's summer league. Where does this Cooper Flag summer league rank for you?
Well, first of all, it's a great annual tradition to chat with you in Vegas, man. I love it. Glad to see you're still grinding. Cooper Flag's right up there in terms of the most impressive guys I've seen at Summer League. I don't know if it was as crazy, in terms of like the fan interest as like a Wemby or a Zion, but in terms of the actual performance from Cooper, I thought he was the best player in the tournament, and he's the youngest player in the tournament, 18 years old. He only played 2 games, but he showed everything. He's fluid up and down the court. Unbelievable with the basketball, can score it, can move the basketball, keep his teammates involved. Had a game-winning block in the first game against the Lakers. Just did a little bit of everything, and he just seemed so ready for the attention. He wanted to put on a show. I know he didn't shoot the three-pointer that well, but he came out gunning, which isn't his usual style, because I think he really wanted to give the basketball diehards in Las Vegas their money's worth. So I thought from Cooper, obviously he was the number 1 pick. There was no question there. But I think he's got a real chance to be special. I think we're talking franchise-level player. And, I'm sure you and I, we wouldn't wish on anybody to follow in Luka Doncic's footsteps in Dallas. That's pretty tricky. But I think if anybody can do it, it's Cooper Flag.
And I'm happy that you kind of said that, right? Because I mentioned it on last Monday when we did the show for the concourse of the Thomas and Mack. I said, I felt like what I saw from Cooper Flag was somebody who understood this was my last chance to play free ball for a little bit, right? I know when I get to my situation with Dallas, I'm going to be the 3rd, 4th option, right? And I think that's not a position that we've had a first-round pick or first number 1 overall pick in quite some time, right? He's not expected to go there and give the team 28 and 5 every single night, right? And I think Summer League kind of allowed him to kind of play without those parameters, obviously understanding the regular season is going to look a lot different.
No, it's a great point. Let's not forget. Mavericks coach Jason Kidd said we want to put the ball in his hands, basically use him as a point forward. Let's see what he can do. And when you have the ball in your hands that much, in a summer league environment, well, that means you're going to get more shots up. You're going to get more drives to the hoop. You're going to get more transition opportunities. You're going to get more dunks. All that stuff is just a very natural way to look at it. He obviously doesn't have LeBron's pure vision or like the laser cross-court passes. Really does, right? But in terms of his size, skill combination with the ball in his hands, how comfortable he looked bringing it up, there was a little LeBron to him, and of course he can finish above the rim as well. So you want to be careful with those comparisons. Obviously, you're talking about one of the greatest players of all time, but there just are not very many guys who are that 6'9", 6'10", broad shoulder, athletic, quick combination who are that fundamentally sound and that well trained and that fluid. You think about some of the bigger guys his size, you don't trust him to bring the ball to the court because you're worried about turnovers. And with Cooper, you're never worried about turnovers. He's always going to make the right play, and he always has a great spatial awareness when he gets around him.
To that, you say what?
I think back to last year and how poorly Wemby played and the overreaction that we had in that way. And I'm like, he played great. He looked great. He looked the part. But I do want to see it again. I want to see it in the regular season, right? Like it's different, and he's playing against the Laker game, especially the big one on Saturday, against guys that are at the best going to be the 14th or 15th guy on the Lakers. So he's not playing against the best, but I think in those tournaments you look for the potential, right? And he played well. He showed out for the fans. I think that there's no reason to think he can't be he was advertised as heading into the draft. So for me, I'm kind of still level to what I thought ahead of the draft. Like he's got an insane skill set. He's going to be great, I think, but I didn't one way or the other tip the scales.
So here's where I'm at. This is the one thing that I will add. You guys are listening to my live responses to Ben Golliver, so I don't have to add too much. But the one thing I will say that I didn't tell Ben, remember what I said about Chet Holmgren when I said Chet that first year, like, you know, I don't really know what you're gonna look like.
Yeah.
I've mentioned Miles Turner. I said that might be somebody who, you know what I mean, the first time he jumps might kind of shock you.
Yeah.
It might be one of those. Respectfully, and then Chet broke his foot. And I forgot how I even brought it up to him because I did the interview with him, but I told him, like, I feel like that year, nobody wants to be injured, right? But I feel like that year allowed him to just bulk up. It allowed him to just watch from the sidelines. When I watched Cooper Flag play, by the way, that 31 that he got, I watched it, and I'm going to be completely honest. I watched his 2 games, like the little side-by-side, like the little game breakdown.
Yeah.
I was at the game. Well, excuse me, I don't think I was at that game. I was watching the game, and I was like, yeah, 31.
Quiet, yeah.
And it was one of those where it was like, I knew he was doing his thing. Damn, like that didn't register.
The whole time, yeah, consistent.
But I'm at the Saturday game. You kind of just highlighted it. I'm at that Bronny and Cooper matchup, what everybody wanted to see, right? By the way, $2,500 for courtside seats.
Summer league.
I'm not gonna lie, I seen those tickets. Somebody sent it to me. I said, "Is Bron playing?" I said, "I'm tripping, right?"
Autographs for everyone in attendance.
I said, "Am I tweaking? I'm like, am I?" Shout to me,
I remember, back in the day, here's $15. I'll see you 9 hours later when I'm done bouncing around these arenas for summer league, and you can come pick me up.
They said the average ticket was $650.
Crazy.
Anywho,
yeah.
So my God, once again, shout out to the NBA. I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Like, and having, I remember covering the Zion summer league.
Yeah.
That felt like everything at that moment. That was huge at the time, you know.
That earthquake.
Yeah, we didn't.
The earthquake was perfect.
Didn't really end up happening, yeah. But I just remember that being so like seismic, in many different ways. And
we need a drum roll, dog. We need a little doo-doo.
And I don't know, like maybe it's just because I was more in it at the time, you know, consistently covering stuff for the school. But like, I was excited to watch Cooper Flag, but it wasn't like Zion level or Wemby hype for me. It was like, oh, it'll be cool to see him, but like.
And as somebody still in the building, right? As somebody in the building, Bronny still got a louder pop. Dylan Harper got just as loud of a pop, right? Yeah. Cooper is still Cooper. And what I will give him credit for, in watching that Saturday game up close and personal, similar to what Ben Golliver just said, he attempted everything.
Yeah.
That was the best part for me. I'm watching the wheels turn. He's like, let me see what this corner three look like. Okay, let me see if I can get to the rim with this. Okay, let me see what my triple threat looks like from here. I'm watching him and I'm like, dog, I don't care if he's missing. I don't care. I'm watching him and I'm like, bro, this is beautiful. Only time I hesitated, and you know probably where I'm going because the rest of the world went there. I was uncomfortable watching Bronny body him up in the paint. I was like, he gonna have to fix that like fast. And y'all,
I can tell you in the Lakers circles, that was a big. That was like, oh yeah, Bronny's bulking up. He's handling Cooper Flag in the paint. Like we're here.
And it wasn't a foul.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting behind the play. I'm like, oh no. I said, Bronny got him, dog. Bronny did that the right way. And he did it back-to-back plays. Yeah. When he went back to it, I was like, Cooper, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you're trying to prove a point. It ain't working right now. He's got a year under his belt.
Yeah.
He looks like he looks like he got the year under his belt. Yeah, man. Shout out to Cooper Flag. And we can finish this Ben Golliver interview, or at least go to the next one.
That's kind of leading into my next point, right? Just in terms of the way that these different teams handle their prized possessions, their investments, their rookies during summer league, right? And that was kind of my next topic, just in terms of other guys in this class. Now we see it every other year or every couple of years, right? You'll have a year where guys seem like they're kind of put in bubble wrap, and then you'll have another year where a team that may have had third overall pick, but they send their third overall pick to go play 70-80% of the games, right, during summer league. This year, I feel like we're starting to revert back a little bit to if you have a slight discomfort in your hip, if you have a slight discomfort in your foot, let's just sit you out. Let's just not even risk it, right? So especially considering how many injuries we saw during the NBA playoffs this year. How much do you feel like the injuries that we saw during the NBA playoffs kind of trickled into summer league in terms of some teams being a little bit more strategic with how they played their rookies?
Well, it's a good question because, I mean, we're talking about major injuries in the playoffs, right? Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. You're talking about losing, franchise-level players for more than a year, potentially longer with Achilles injuries. So I think everybody's going to be a little bit nervous. I think with this younger guys, though, it's kind of been a developing trend, right? Like, you want to show them play a couple times, and then you want to shut them down and just avoid injury. The guy who I was most disappointed on, or the team I was most disappointed in, was the Utah Jazz. They were put on a lot of primetime television slots because everybody wanted to see what Ace Bailey can do. A lot of hype coming out of college, and then of course, kind of a controversial draft situation where does he want to go to Utah? Does he not want to go to Utah? He didn't work out for the Sixers at number 3, and so there's just a lot of interest around him. And for some reason, he played in a summer league right before Las Vegas, and they decided to just sit him out for all of Las Vegas with what I, kind of thought was maybe, minor injury excuse. So he didn't necessarily look injured when he's hanging out with the team all week long. I just thought that was the wrong way to play it. This is a kid who's got kind of a target on his back, a lot of criticism coming out of the draft process. The best way for him to change the story and to get people back on his side is to go out there and play, score 20 points, get everybody excited, get everybody talking about Ace Bailey, the player, not Ace Bailey, the controversy. And so, instead he just never got the shits showed anything in Las Vegas. And I think some of those negative taglines are going to hang over him until he gets into training camp. So it's obviously not the biggest deal in the world, but it was a missed opportunity, I thought, for the Utah Jazz. These guys need some positive PR, don't they? I mean, they've had a terrible couple of years here. They're trading away a lot of their veterans this summer. Here was a chance to really showcase your young guy and get everybody excited. They have a lot of fans who travel down from Salt Lake City to Vegas for the Summer League. I know you see them every year, and unfortunately, they never got to see their guy. So I think that was a real bummer.
He let their ass have it, didn't he?
And I agree with him. Right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, Summer League is probably an extension of the preseason a little bit, right? So, like you see in any other sport, you don't want to throw your best guys out there for anything more than a warm-up or a tune-up to get ready for the regular season, right? It's a little bit different in Summer League when it's all rookies. The guys at the end of the bench are fighting for their careers right now, right? So it's a little different there. But I think in terms of the top picks, it is – you're trying to build a narrative a little bit, right? You're trying to build some confidence in them. You're trying to create some buzz for them to start the season. So let them go out, get their point. I don't care how well they play, right, overall, but if they get 15 to 20, get them feel good, get the fan base feeling good, that's what. So I agree with them on the Ace Bailey thing, especially with the points that he brought up of this was a tumultuous relationship, tumultuous draft cycle for Ace Bailey. All of the chatter around him was about, is he going to show up? Is he going to pull like an Eli Manning? Is he not going to want to go to this team? So I think if they would have just shoved him out there for a game and made it in Vegas, right, the biggest exposure you're going to get in Summer League, put him out there for a game, let him play. He does what he does. Hopefully he gets some points and he gets everyone excited. Then you move on from there. But I think I agree with him. It was a big missed opportunity.
I completely agree with you as well. I think we are at. Remember, you might have been at you were at that Summer League because you just mentioned Zion.
Yeah.
Remember RJ Barrett's first game and how we were all waiting in the media scrum. We're waiting. And then the New York Knicks brought out Mitchell Robinson. And they brought out Josh Hart. Or not Josh Hart. They brought out somebody else. And then everybody like, okay, Frank Ntilikina. Oh, hey, guys, RJ's not doing media today. Okay, cool. It's kind of weird, but all right.
It's the guy.
Second game. Hey guys, RJ isn't doing media. Third game, RJ has his best game. RJ does media. I said, no. New York Knicks, you don't do that. You are putting him in the worst spot possible.
Yeah.
That New York media is going to eat him alive week 1. You don't do that again. I don't know if they ever learned from it, right?
Yeah. It's Summer League too. What do we have to be this protective over? If he goes out there and scores 5 in Summer League, okay, this is the first professional action he's ever going to get. Am I really going to put all my chips on the table for one performance from RJ Barrett that I maybe didn't like out of Summer League? It's a developmental process. He's probably going to get better over the week here. he doesn't even know any of his teammates yet. He never played with these guys, so it's like, yeah, you have to give. Some
Matter of
slack
fact, I'm playing against my teammates.
yeah, like the only guys I know are the guys that are on the other team that I just played with at Duke. It's like it's a weird environment overall. It's a 10-day circus that rolls into town that is not going to translate to your real team in the NBA because everyone is going to be different, and even the guys that are there are going to be playing different roles than they played on your summer league team. So it's like, and you see that with other teams too, right? Where it's like are we really going to be this protective over some guys in summer league right now? Like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, okay, if he doesn't do well, let's ask him what he wanted to improve upon, and we'll look for it next game. And I bet you he's going to go out and he's going to do it, and the coach is going to give him opportunities to do.
Here's the uncomfortable position that I'm starting to get, like the uncomfortable feeling I'm starting to get. Remember how I said that at Rutgers, I felt like everybody's like, oh, 2 lottery picks, 2 top 5 picks from a team that didn't make the NCAA championship or NCAA tournament, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Cool. Some people brought that up and was like, well, I don't know how good the 2 top picks are. I don't know how good the top. I brought it up from a different perspective. If you go back and eliminate some of them shot choices by Ace Bailey, I don't know that they're not a tournament team. I watch a lot of college basketball, and there's a lot of teams that you watch throughout the year, and you be like, damn, y'all turn it on at the end? That happens.
Yeah.
That's a lot of talent on that Rutgers team. They should have been a tournament team. Could they have been a 13? Maybe. Would they have been bounced in the first round? Probably. Not the point.
Yeah.
The talent was there. Seeing what Utah did with Ace Bailey during this Vegas Summer League made me more worried, because I thought about it and I said, when's the last time a player had the team by their gumption? Had it right here. And I think Bradley Beal had Washington that way. And I'm trying to think of another one right offhand. I remember AI had Philly.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm starting to feel like? Ace Bailey's going to do whatever the hell he wants in Utah.
Yeah. And that's,
I don't know if it's good or bad.
when you date back to the Rutgers thing, where it's like maybe he felt like he had to play hero ball a little bit, right? Where
If I'm Dylan Harper,
yeah, you have a running mate, right? Like, who's amazing too, but it's also the thing of like, well, if I don't start making these shots, then we're not going to go anywhere, right? And I think that's Utah's not going to make the playoffs this year. Like, very likely they're not.
let's figure out if they're going to win 20 games.
Exactly. So that kind of mentality. There's going to be nights where he goes out there and he's going to take a bunch of shots just because he's the top guy. He's going to take a bunch of shots. But I think over the course of a season, just letting him have free reign and be like, all right, go score 30 and make the numbers look good.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to for coming from the situation he came from. That's not going to benefit anyone in the long term for Utah moving forward. I think there's got to be some kind of coaching there and some kind of growth to temper down some of that.
I'm listening to everything you're saying. I had just another name pop up in my head. Melo in New York?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
I felt like this is like crazy, but I feel like they might have allowed him to think he did, and they were like,
All right.
anyway.
But I mean,
Talk to me.
No, I was just going off that too. Like, in the climate of today's NBA, like, you can't get away with one guy doing everything.
But it's scary.
The teams that
You're talking about talent wise.
I'm just saying his avenue of growth, right? Like, you're not going to get away with that and be successful. Look at the teams in the West. Like, they have like 4 options deep offensively. Every possession they can go to. It's like you're going to have to rely on some people outside of that. Other than that, so
I do have an answer for the last time we've seen a player that has a team by their gullet. Giannis has the Bucks right now. I had to think about it, and I was like, when's the last? Because I was like, in this day and age, I was like, we might not be seeing it like moving forward anymore.
Yeah.
Giannis might be the last one.
I'm thinking of Jimmy too.
But see, the thing was the way that Pat, yeah,
I can think of 3 now.
Minnesota. Why are we having so much fun with this? Here's the reason, and it may not be good at all, but Giannis and I are the same age. Like, that's how I'm starting to gauge this media thing, right? Giannis is born in 94, so Giannis is 30. Yeah. Giannis has literally grown up in the league, right? If it's okay for anybody to do it, it's somebody that has the tenure under their belt.
Yeah.
If I just came from Rutgers shooting whatever I wanted, I probably shouldn't get to an NBA situation where Colin Sexton, somebody who could have been a vet, is gone.
Yeah.
Where John Collins, somebody who could have been a vet, is gone. Where Jordan Clarkson, who could have been a vet and probably would have punched me in my never mind, is gone.
Yeah.
I have second and third year guys around me. Hey, didn't y'all win 17 games? Like, hey, chill out. Yeah. And don't let me lead this team in scoring. And again, and I don't even know that that's his perspective, right? I don't know that that's his attitude. I've never met Ace Bailey. And the funny thing is, I actually said I said it on draft night that when Ace Bailey was sitting there, I said he looks like somebody that's about to fire his representation.
Yeah.
That's what he looks
That
like.
was an awkward
I feel like
night and 24 hours overall, yeah.
I feel like everything to this day, though, I feel like every conversation that we still have about Ace Bailey has very little to do with Ace Bailey.
Which is why, to Ben's point, throw him out there for a game or two in Summer League, and let's talk about the 20 he dropped against whoever, right? You know?
Way to put a bow on it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, dog.
Young guys and stuff, right? But you and I know just as well as anybody that Summer League is also kind of a prime spot for year two guys and guys with a couple of years under their belts kind of go out there and shine. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about Bronny, right? Me being here in Vegas, I got to talk about my Big Night guys. I'm looking at Midas Marcellus in Chicago. I'm looking at Ron Holland over with the Detroit Pistons. You want to see guys like that kind of make that turn in their second year, right? I think last year, or either it was last year or the year before, we had the conversation about Jabari Smith, right? Jabari Smith came out there and in 2 games looked like the best player in the building, either building.
Oh, yeah.
League. Who kind of stood out to you this year in terms of second year, possibly even third year players, where you looked at them and you said, okay, they don't need to play in this environment?
Well, I thought the guy who really fit that bill for me was actually one of Ace Bailey's teammates with Utah, Kyle Filipowski. You know, he was a guy, remember, he dropped into the second round on draft night. There was all these questions about like off-court stuff with his girlfriend and kind of weird relationship. And, you know, he went to Duke, and I thought he looked pretty good at Duke. Still a big guy, he's shooting a little bit, kind of mobile. But he got hit with those red flags, and so he dropped out of the first round. If you watched him play at something this year, you would have thought he was a lottery pick. You know, I mean, he's putting up 30 points in a game. He's scoring in all these different ways. He's really moving his feet on defense and playing super hard. And I completely with you. If you don't have a great rookie season in the NBA, you need to come to Summer League in year 2 and really pop and kind of dominate, right? And so I compare maybe like Kyle Filipowski to what we saw from Alex Sarr with the Wizards, where he's a number 2 pick. But he didn't leave a huge imprint this year. You know, I thought he was going to be a lot better at Summer League than he was. He didn't really show much growth at all on offense, which is really where all the questions are about his game. And so you've got, in my opinion, a guy like Kyle Filipowski here in Vegas is outplaying some lottery picks, which is pretty impressive. So that would be one guy I would highlight from that category we're talking about.
Anything on Kyle?
Yeah, I didn't catch a ton of his Summer League, but obviously the highlights, and I think, second year growth, like that year we talk about can be so important for some guys, where especially on a team like Utah that wasn't going anywhere, like it can be hard to get lost in the mud a little bit. You're a second rounder trying to find your footing in the NBA, but you at some point you have to show that stock on the rise. And I think that was a guy that certainly did a great job of that, and that's where those second year Summer Leagues start to come in, and you're like, that's where the alarm bells start going off a little bit with guys. You're like, all right, like, did I see anything different from the last game in April to now? And that's short time span, but there's something you've been working on, something that I can direct my attention to in this last 3 months that you've gotten better at. And some guys you don't see it, some guys you do. So that's where those second year Summer Leagues I think are important for a lot of those guys.
Pardon. Oh, my mic is still muted. That was weird.
Save the call.
Yeah, word, right? But the one thing that I will add to this is why two things rather. This is why middle of last year, Utah started taking calls on Walker Kessler. And people thought something was wrong with Walker. And I said, it's not. He can't spread the floor like Kyle can. Yeah. And that's the problem. They're in practice probably watching Kyle bust his ass. And they like, we got to get you out of here. Number 2 is exactly why if I was the Lakers before this DeAndre Ayton deal, I would have been extremely aggressive. Now, I heard the asking price for Walker is kind of through the roof.
Laker tax seemed to come into effect.
Well, yeah. Not something like that. That's when you call a Memphis. That's when you call a Phoenix. You call, Indiana, what's up? What's up? Aaron Nesmith. We need somebody. We need another name here. Yeah. Or maybe we take Jordan Clarkson back and maybe it's a buyout. Maybe we do. Let me help you. But that's why I feel like teams should have been more aggressive with Walker Kessler. He's not going to be in Utah next season.
No, yeah.
Well, this upcoming season he may be, but starting next season he will not
he's
be.
been in the rumors forever,
Yeah, let's go back to Ben.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? All right.
Questions for you, and we'll get you out of here again, Ben. This is part of our annual summer league conversation. Now, you've joined throughout the year, obviously, but this is the one that everybody kind of expects you to do, right? So, again, I thank you again for giving me a little bit of time. But last two questions that I have for you. Ben, you have known me since I was I believe, a sophomore in college. So you know better than anybody. This is a two-part question, but you know better than anybody. I grew up a Pacer fan. In my sophomore year of college, I tore my Achilles. So you know exactly all the emotions that were going through my mind, kind of just as a fan watching basketball play out in terms of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. The reason why I said this is a two-part question is obviously we want to discuss the injury and give some credence there, but there's no way we're going to have this conversation and not talk about the chance, not talk about a title finally residing in Oklahoma City. You can start with either one. Obviously, the energy levels are a little different, but I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, well, man, Game 7, the worst part about it to me was Halliburton comes out and hits 3 3-pointers. And I can tell you how nervous that Oklahoma City crowd was, right? Because all year long, the question was, are the Thunder too young to actually do this, right? Are they going to melt down at some point just because of inexperience and youth? And Halliburton hits those 3 3-pointers right off the top. And you can tell he's in a groove. It's Game 7 for the entire championship. And it reminded me a little bit of the building nerves of when Klay Thompson hit whatever it was, like 11 3-pointers against the Thunder back in 20.
Pause.
We don't have to relitigate all this time.
Do you want to know what when I heard that, especially from somebody who's in the building?
Yeah.
How many times have my stomach dropped on this show, dog? When he said it, I said, that's what it felt like.
You feel it.
Remember that game? And I was thinking like, oh no, deja vu. Here comes the Thunder heartbreak, right? And then next thing you know, Halliburton's on the ground and just the energy is kind of sucked out of the building. It reminded me a lot of the Kevin Durant injury in the finals in 2019 with the Warriors and Raptors, where it just kind of hangs over everything else that's happening. And I guess the only good part from the Thunder perspective is that the injury happened early in the game, so that some time passed before they got to really close it out in the fourth quarter, and they got to have their championship celebration. But obviously, it was like a very bittersweet night for anybody besides Thunder fans, because you're sitting here thinking, what an epic Game 7, but like what a horrible injury. And honestly, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton was the player in the playoffs. You know, I know Shea was the Finals MVP, but I mean, how many big shots did Tyrese Halliburton hit? The one in New York was like the most iconic moment of the entire postseason, right? So to have it be him going down just made it that much worse. And it was a true bummer because the Pacers were like the ultimate underdog story. So I'm sorry it went that way for you. Hopefully you've had like a month to lick your wounds, and then we probably hope this coming year. But maybe the following year, Halliburton's back at full speed, and he's leading that Pacers offense.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of go back to kind of what you just said, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, obviously, like being in this field, you start to kind of detach, right, from your childhood memories and things like that. And I told my dad, I said, the interesting thing about this Tyrese Halliburton situation is, yes, as basketball fans and sports fans, everybody I've talked to, they feel like we were robbed of what could have been in the Game 7, right? It could have still been an OKC championship, but like you said, the moments, the pageantry almost of it all, we felt like we were kind of robbed of it. I told my dad, for me personally, I think it's impossible for anybody to handle the Tyrese Halliburton injury in a negative way, the Damian Lillard injury in a negative way, any of these injuries in a negative way, considering how these athletes have dealt with it, right? I tore my Achilles, and I know the injury itself is one thing, but the rehab is where you kind of start to question yourself, you kind of start to question is it worth it, you start to question all of these different things. So the way that Damian is handling it, the way that Reese is handling it, I think it allows for the average fan to kind of sit back without those stresses, right? And you kind of talked about it too. We've seen over the past couple of years, these devastating injuries are no longer career injuries.
That's true. And I think it's important. You know, you're talking about the rehab aspect to it. I mean, look at how these guys are handling it, right? Tatum, I mean, he's been tweeting up, you know, how painful it is, how much it sucks. And, you know, maybe every once in a while he'll put a picture out that shows him that he's not in the food anymore, and everybody's kind of cheering him on day to day. I think that's kind of a cool way to do it, kind of bond with your fan base, right? Lillard, what did he want to do? Well, let's go sign with Portland so he can go back and be with his parents, or his family, his kids, be surrounded by everybody who his loved ones are. That'll make that rehabilitation process easier. And then with Halliburton, what we see is he's just in the gym. I mean, this guy's a basketball junkie. He's not playing, but he's at every single WNBA game. He's at the All-Star game this weekend. He's kind of supporting the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. And so that's kind of how he's getting through it. And it's three different players, three different ways to do it. But I think all of them have been, kind of heartening. Because like you said, you just feel terrible for these guys going through a rehabilitation that's going to last 9 months. And it's interesting to see how each one of these guys has managed it.
Anything on these injuries?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point about the Dame thing. I didn't even think about too. Like, you think going back to Portland, that's where his inner circle is, right? I think everyone kind of knew he was going back home in a sense, but tying it to the rehab too, of how much easier that's going to make that, having that support system there, that's a big thing to sign back there for him too. And yeah, I think these guys are very open about it these days, and it's an interesting look at their kind of mindset, right? And I think we got a little bit of that. I remember Kobe's post after he tore his Achilles of being like this sucks. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is terrible. Like I hate this. Like, but it also speaks to the work that they're putting in to get back to that point. So when they do finally get back on the court, you're like, this was an entire journey to get back to this point. And Tyrese's case specifically, like you mentioned, given when it happened, how it happened, like that's going to be quite the moment when he finally returns to the court. It's going to be incredible to see.
Only thing that comes to mind when you talk about his return to the court, I remember everybody holding their breath when Paul George came back.
Yeah.
When Paul George broke his leg, I remember everybody was like, well, he's going to be out for the next year. And Paul George worked his tail off to get back. I think Paul George played in 2 games before the end of the year, but he came back, I think, game 80. He was hell-bent on playing in the regular season. It didn't start, but the moment that he checked into the game, you could see even the other team was like, bro, this is amazing. This is great. So I do think it's going to be one of those moments again whenever Reese comes back, especially when Dame touches that. What? Oh my gosh, bro. Portland, I might want to go.
Just be on the bench at the start of the game. They're going to love it.
Absolutely. I'm already loving it. One more question for Ben, and then we have WNBA All-Star. We'll go home.
Question I have for you, sir. I made it a point to not take you to the phone, but I'm at a summer league happy hour, right? So I'm at the summer league happy hour. I'm having this conversation, and I'm talking about the Monday show. So I'm like, hey, the plan is to have Alex White, the Aviators. The plan is to get Dave Oliver for the Washington Post. So as I'm talking, I hear somebody kind of over to my right, and somebody was like, yeah, the guy you just named, that's who. And again, we're in a bar, right? So I'm like trying to stay tuned into my conversation, but I heard somebody talking about my conversation. So as I turn around, I kind of start to piece it together, and I'm like, so what you guys talking about? Somebody said, well, yeah, the guy you just mentioned, he wrote a book. I said, Bubble Ball. And the whole table started laughing. I said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, so we're all talking about Ben Golliver, right? And we had a second to kind of talk about Bubble Ball. So the reason why I brought that up is because the 2020 season, right? This amazing Game 7 that you just covered, maybe a little over a month ago at this point, covered LeBron, covered Bron's son, you've covered numerous #1 picks. Ben Golliver, do you have a favorite sports moment?
Man, that's a really, really good question. I was going back through that thinking, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, because you don't really get too many of those, right? I was at the one with the Warriors and the Cavs in 2016 for a long time. I think that was probably my favorite sports moment. But I'll tell you what, last summer, when Steph Curry hit all those threes to win gold against France, and even the semifinal game against Serbia, that was probably the most intense basketball environment I've ever been in, where the USA is down in the fourth quarter against Serbia and Joker, and the entire weight of the world is on these guys. And, it's players that like you said, I've been covering their entire career, Steph, LeBron, KD, and to watch them gut that out in the fourth quarter, that was some special stuff. And just an amazing atmosphere in Paris as well, with the crowds and, just people coming from all over the world mesmerized by how good these guys are at basketball. Steph hitting those crazy step-back three-pointers, man, I think that's probably got to be #1. Might be a little bit of recency bias because it only happened last year, but when I look back on it, when you think about fast forward 20 years, what are the moments you're going to remember being in the building for? I'll never forget being at that building in Paris watching Steph Curry take out Serbia and then take down France.
It's a good moment.
It's hard to beat
That's a
that
good
one,
moment.
right?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think back of like moments I remember
Mhm.
watching. Right, obviously I've not been in the building like he has for a lot of these things, but my mind immediately goes to 2016 NBA Finals. Like, but I don't think it's rare that games feel like it felt like aliens were invading Earth and the fate of the universe was on the line for that game. I was like, this, like, I am sitting my ass down. I'm watching this.
We
and,
have
like,
to.
I didn't get that feeling or I don't get that feeling for a lot of games, even in the playoffs or in the finals. You know, I'm sure for the Pacers, it felt like that a little bit for you, but
It was out of body, brother.
Yeah,
it was
so
completely out of
but
body.
it's like there's just certain games like that where that felt important. I mean, obviously the Olympics last year, I think we were all watching and cheering on, and the Serbia game too, where it felt like things were crumbling away, and we're like, oh man, like we're really going out like this? We're not gonna win gold. And him coming back, and then obviously the win in France. That's a good one for me too. I think I saw it a couple weeks ago. I must have came up on like Instagram or something where I saw those shots again on Steph. You know, just the compilation of them, and I'm like, man, like.
They kept getting crazy.
Oh, the step back to the right where
Over the three?
Dude, yeah, I'm like, dude, that is one of the. There is one person in basketball history that could get away with taking that shot in the moment with LeBron James in the other corner with his arms up wide open, and it's Steph Curry, and he made the shot. So I'm like, you know what?
Oh, so there's one more name to add to that because you're absolutely right. He hit that over three, step back, right wing. Everything you said is right. Bron is right here in the corner. KD's over here.
He's right here. Yeah,
That's the
two guys that are two of the greatest.
And you see Bron and KD looking like, yep, that's fine. Like he got it.
It's incredible. Yeah. So that to me is just a fan watching. Like I'll never forget watching that and being like, you have got to be, because we've all seen so many Steph moments, and you're thinking like, oh, we might get hot here. But that one was like, I got transported to like 2015 for a second there. I was like, that was vintage Steph. Just
I think everybody knows where they were to 2016. When you talk about the Cavs and Warriors, I think everybody knows exactly where they were when that happened.
Oh yeah. And even furthermore, less important in the grand scheme of things, that shot against OKC that Curry hit, the deep shot in the regular season. I remember watching that and being like, dude, I've never seen anyone just pull up like that with that much confidence and just drop a shot like that. I was like, that was crazy.
I looked at my girlfriend at the time and was like, yo, I know you don't know how crazy that was, but that he shouldn't be able to do that.
No,
like that shouldn't be okay. There was 14 seconds on this. You shouldn't do that. That's a bad shot. Just some random moments. Again, like I said, I'm not gonna think about things I was in the building for, but Kobe's last game was like one time that I remember like these are 48 minutes that I have to watch every single second.
I watched that entire game too.
The Michael Phelps moment in 2008, the Usain Bolt moment in 2008.
Like Olympic moments a lot.
They're always special.
Even this past Olympics, like a lot of the track and field ones.
The Noah Lyles one.
Yeah, that was impressive. Like even the women's track and field.
Yeah.
The relays that they were having, I was like, this is insane.
The Bahamas. Oh, I forgot her name, and I'm so sorry. But that moment was another one too. Yeah, you're kind of right. Every Olympic, every Olympic run, you're gonna probably get one. Let's see if I can think of one more. Do you have one more?
I mean, this is a more niche one, but for racing, for me, like Formula One, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, 2021.
That's pretty dope.
Came down to the last lap of the season for the championship, so that's one I'll always remember.
If I had to think of one more, it's not a good one though.
I'd like to hear it. Yeah,
it's not a good one, bro.
Like, Tiger at the 2019 Masters, his comeback for that one. That's a good one.
That's a really good one. That is a damn good one.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm really mad I didn't come up with. But that's a really good one. I was in a building when Bud made his welterweight debut. That was pretty dope. Okay. But the one that's not a good one, and it was, I thought about it. Just in terms of good basketball, I hate that I have to hate this. But it's 05. No, it's 04. The Eastern Conference Finals, the Tayshaun block.
Yeah.
Like
it's one that sucks, but you're like,
it's one of those moments because it literally, Reggie talks about it all the time. That year with the way that the Lakers looked, knowing that Shaq and Kobe was on the house, and then finding out that Kobe and Karl wouldn't get, whoever comes out of the East got it. And that's the feel. I talked to Fran about it. I talked to Mike Davis about it. You talked to all these coaches about it. Very rarely do you say it comes down to a single play. I've watched that game ad nauseum, brother. I think it came down to a single play, and that's just the one.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't go Indy's way, I love that. It was like 66, 63. I love it. It's one of those games where it's like, dog, you got to fight for all of these. You have to.
And kind of along the same vein, I think 2010 Game 7 Lakers Celtics, that game.
83, 78, disgusting looking.
For a bunch of threes at the end, you're like, what the hell is going on here? This game's insane.
You were 0 for 6 before this.
Yeah.
Like, and
Kobe Winston at Ron Artest taking the shot.
that was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
People got mad at me in my close circle a little bit because episode 17 of the podcast, Call the Law. I talked about that game 7, and I was like, yeah, Kobe stunk. People were mad that I said Kobe stunk. Kobe stunk that game. Go back and watch it. Kobe, without those 15, 17 rebounds, Kobe was he was a non-factor on the court. You're a Laker fan.
Even down the stretch at the end, like, what are the highlights? Powell making shots in the paint. Ron Artest 3. Like, Kobe got to the line a couple times. Like, I think about Sasha Vujicic's 2 free throws at the end to ice it. Like, that's like, yeah, like that's Kobe.
I love
wasn't
it.
his finest effort, but I mean, he was the guy on that team, so it's like, what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
There, so I'm not gonna complain.
That's the argument. If I got you there, carry me.
Which is also why I go back to 2016. It makes it all the more impressive that Kyrie and LeBron completely take over at the end with 2 of the most iconic moments in NBA history. And you're like, they got you here, and they probably in 2 possessions single-handedly just won you the NBA Finals. Like, it's insane.
And again, just so everybody knows, I just said everybody knew where they were in that moment. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings. I was serving at the time. As soon as that block happened, we were all like, it was one of those like, oh, I do have another moment.
Yeah.
It was one of those where it was like, oh, instantly half the building split. It was a goaltend. It was a block. It was a goaltend. It was a block. The moment where the building blew was the Kyrie shot.
Oh, yeah.
And when I thought about the building blowing, I know my next answer. Where I was really like in my moment where I was like, this sport is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was in Vegas for Conor Nate 2, for McGregor Diaz 2, but I was in the bar for McGregor Diaz 1.
Okay, yeah.
Because Nate had so much scar tissue when Nate got cut, we were like, oh damn, here we go. Like Conor about to start laying on him. When Conor started laying on him, but when Conor got cracked the first time, the building was kind of like, ooh.
Hold on.
And we talked about an earthquake earlier. You kind of felt it start to kind of rumble a little bit. And then Conor got popped again. When Conor went to the ground, everybody was like, okay, like we can kind of calm down. The tap that came at, bro, I don't think I've ever heard the building louder than that. And I was confused because I was like, are y'all for Conor or again? But it was such a moment where it was like,
I gotta yell right now. I don't know what I'm yelling for, but yeah.
It was literally one of those, dog. Everybody just grabbed the person next to me and was like, oh! That was one of the moments, bro. I literally sat there, and that's when I called my dad maybe that weekend, and I told him, I'm okay with you guys having the boxing history that you have, because we have the Tito Ortizes, the Chuck Liddells, the Randy Coutures, and we're getting here. Like I told my dad, like these are our moments. Like I don't have a Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler moment. I don't. Like I got McGregor Diaz, dog. Like I got things like that. So that's an interesting angle to have. And I'm gonna be completely honest, just us within the company. When we do get together next, we should do that. We should get together and talk about the best sports moments that we've seen, because we've seen some moments, dog.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of being live for one, I have one that.
Talk to me.
I mean, just the Stanley Cup championship. That's an easy one. Right?
I didn't want to be the guy to do it for you, but yeah, man.
In terms of being in the building for something cool, like that's probably number one.
I saw UNLV win a bowl game for the first time in 20 years. Yeah,
Sure.
See,
it matters to some of us.
Yep. I seen UNLV win the Mountain West. Not yet.
They start with a 19. I'm just a disgruntled fan at this point.
Hey man, with all the good energy I have around this basketball team, I still smell 20 wins, bro. Like 19, 20. I think they're gonna be somewhere middle of the road. The most fun you've ever seen in history, dog. Speaking of fun, let's talk about this WNBA All-Star Weekend, brother. We could just talk about the 3 events, obviously. Give me your takes on it. I have random takes about every single competition. So let's just get to it. Natasha Cloud winning the skills challenge. I'm pissed off that I didn't tweet it out beforehand, because when Courtney Williams was like, well, damn, I already spent the money. Like, in the back of my mind, I was like, Tasha gonna go out there and she gonna shock y'all, right? And I've been a huge Erica fan ever since her rookie season. I don't think she gets enough credit in this league, but I also think that has to do with the expansion, right? She ends up being the 4th, maybe 5th best player on her team, and people get the disrespect in Erica. So I like the finals being Erica Wheeler and Natasha Cloud. And the only thing I'm here to say, and I said this earlier this season, and I can be completely wrong, but I believe Natasha Cloud is the reason why the New York Liberty will win the 2nd straight championship.
Okay.
Now,
I mean, they got depth.
Now, earlier this year, I said because of what happened last year, the basketball guys, in order to get this right, this has to be Minnesota's title, right? Minnesota should have won last year, it looked like. I think one of those two things happened. So Minnesota and New York in the finals again wouldn't be necessarily a shocker for me. But when I watched Natasha Cloud, say it again.
I was gonna say they signed Beastman, right?
And I didn't even want to say that.
Yeah, I was like, they've added more firepower.
And it's like, if you want to remember the last, or if you can try to think about the last time you heard Emma Mieseman's name, she was helping Elena Deladon win a championship in Washington. So, I mean, not to mention she's added to the New York roster now, right? So,
just another,
I seen Natasha Cloud during All-Star Weekend and was like, I said, here we go, dog. Do you have anything on the skills challenge?
No, not much on the skills challenge. It's fun to watch.
I mean, All-Star Weekend is always. I feel like I don't want to be this guy, but shout out to Dick Calvert. Dick Calvert always says it every Friday. As soon as the game is getting ready to be over, DC's like, all right, I'm headed out. He dapped me up, and he'll be like, you know what I say? His saying is, you've seen one firework, you've seen them all. So he doesn't stay for firework. He does not play that. I feel like this is us with every other All-Star weekend. That's not the MLB. We'd be like, yay! Okay, what else is on?
I mean, which is why I fought hockey for them. It's good, and got to the 4 nations. We'll see what they're doing with the Olympic break this year. It might be a little different, but like
we'll see what the NBA. We'll see if the NBA takes heed.
Yeah, but conjuring up actual competition where you usually get nothing, and these guys just getting a free trip to or at Miami or LA, or whatever, like there are some things to be learned from other leagues right, and especially with the NBA and the NFL.
100%. And I like what you said too, because you was like, their answer to fixing it was ditching it. Like, just get rid of it. Yeah. Just get rid of all of it. Sabrina Ionescu winning the 3-point contest. I just want to continue to highlight this, and I know she's too much of a high class person to say this. At least I don't know her, but she strikes me to be too high class of a player to say it. For all that talk about Caitlin Clark coming to the league, and this is again no shot at Caitlin. It is what it is. She's a hooper. There were a lot of talks about, well, maybe Asia doesn't like it. Maybe Asia wants everybody to know she's the face of the league. Well, what about some of the greats that have come through Indiana before? What about Kelsey Mitchell? What about Angel Reese? And in the back of my mind, I kept saying it. I was like, everybody kept saying, oh, well, she shoots the ball from deep. I kept saying, yeah, Sabrina don't like that shit. Y'all keep talking, and I don't think Sabrina at home just twiddling her thumb. I don't think she liked this, because she was the shiny new toy. And I was like, I don't know. This is not a shot at CC. I was like, but if you let me pick both, I'm taking Sabrina. Yeah. I was like, and I know this is the moment now. And at the end of their career, we can have the conversation again. Right now, today, I'm taking Sabrina. And I said that 2 years ago, whatever it was, right? I saw Sabrina win the 3-point contest, and I said, you know what? I said, this is how you quietly poke your head back in there and be like, hey, guys, I'm here, just so you know. Only, you want to ready for my weird point for this one? I love that she gave half of her purse to Sonia Centron.
Yeah. That's fun.
That's fire. Yeah. She was like, just for you being a rookie, even being out here, this is like a lot of bright lights. You're going up against several-time All-Star. Here, just take this for even showing up.
I think a strong gesture given what the fight is right now for WNBA players and some of the revenue they're trying to get a piece of the pie, and they're trying to get a bigger pay. So for her to do that was cool.
Russo, last thing we actually have, brother, is the actual All-Star game itself. 151-131, Team Collier defeats Team Clark. Of course, Caitlin didn't play in this one. Asia played sporadically. We've talked about it. I tweeted it August of last year. I said, why is Fee playing like this? Something along the lines of that. And I tweeted about 23 minutes later, okay, Fee is in rare form.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it again for me.
She's in rare form.
Still, we're a year later, and I'm like,
is it still rare form? Is it just, is she in
that's
form?
a good point.
Is this just who she is now?
Well, if this is who she is now, we gotta have a different conversation.
Yeah,
Then,
we gotta rewrite some things.
yeah, I don't. This. She talk about smooth players.
Yeah.
You don't see too many smooth players with that height on them.
Yep.
Fee can do it all. And then you add to the fact, I talk about Cooper Flags having his 31 being quiet. I watched the All-Star game and was like, did she get 36?
Yeah.
I'm ready to throw in one more little weird caveat. And I don't think it's weird at all. Shout out to Athletes Unlimited and shout out to Unrivaled. Because again, now I'm about 6 months in, maybe 8 months in, when I was looking and I was like, Skylar Diggins-Smith is taking this one-on-one competition very, very seriously. And I said, I love that about her because when she's on the court, she don't play. Like, I'm not here for the smiles and everything else. And sometimes people look at her like, damn, you going this hard? Like, yeah, I am. Actually, matter of fact, where aren't you?
Yeah.
To see her go out there and get the league's first triple-double in the All-Star game, I said, dog, who better than Sky, dog? So I've been her fan since Notre Dame. So I'm extremely pleased with the game. The 4-point shot was obviously pretty dope. I don't think I have anything bad to say about any of it, brother.
No, it was a fun time. It was good. It was showcased a lot of different and talented players in the WNBA to a bigger audience, and I think it was cool that Caitlin kind of wasn't in it this time. Like it kind of allowed the spotlight to go on some of the other ladies, so that was cool. I mean, obviously you want her to play, right? It's in Indiana. Like, would have been great if she played, but I think a lot of people still tuned in, and maybe they got to learn a little bit more about some of the better players around the league. So I think it was a win.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Everybody was panicking about her not playing or was she going to play or whatever. And I think you might have said it best. That was good that she was named to the team, that she was there for all the festivities, but she's not playing. So now focus on everybody else that's out here, right? So I do think that was the best. I apologize to my mom and my dad. I did let you guys know beforehand that we had a packed show and we were going to go over 2 hours. I told you guys. We are sitting at 2 hours and 3 minutes. So I appreciate you guys. We will get to tip-ins. We will get to all of that on the next show. I promise you guys. Until next time. Keep on talking, gang.